Right, shut up.
Now we can mute you. Martin, I'm going to mute everyone, so you're going to get muted.
Okay,
Ben, if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great.
I will do that indeed.
Brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you folks. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Yeah. As Linda said, I'm a candidate on the Singing Judge program. And the idea of this presentation, I was given a task as part of the program. You have to present something to the judges. And I'd listened to lots of people, as we all do, and it was just an area that seemed to interest me. And I thought, really, kind of what goes on, as we get older. It doesn't matter what age you are. We're not talking about, because I've called it the aging voice, I'm not dealing with, just people who are 60 plus. This applies to everybody because we all get older, whether you like it or not, right from birth, we all get older. So that's how this came about. I presented it a couple of times to people, to a couple of choruses. I presented it to a chorus in Canada, which was quite nice to do. And it's evolved over time. So there's just some little bits here that hopefully you'll find useful, helpful, a bit informative. I'll give a caveat to start with. I'm not a medical expert. Okay, I'm not a doctor. If we have medical professional people amongst us, just to give that. So I'm sure you'll be able to give maybe a more medical insight into anything that I mention. So that's good. I think off we go. Let's not fiddle around. Hopefully, I've got it here. Okay, if you can see that, just somebody give me a thumbs up. Fab. Now, I haven't a clue what that means, but I think it means something like, hello, everyone, or well done, or get off, or something like that. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so here we go. There you go. So embrace your age, because you can't fight it. Yeah, there's nothing you could do about it. So, things are just the way they are. I put some people on the front there that may be familiar to you, and we'll talk about that. And I've got your logos in at the top, you see, so it all looks a bit professional, so that's quite good. Here's a couple of things then. So this is what the voice is. It's characterized by its intensity, its frequency, and the harmonics. And the harmonics are hormonally dependent. So that's a statement really as to what the voice is and how it's characterized. And there are various stages of vocal aging, as I'm sure you're probably aware. Here's the first one. The general accepted range of puberty is boys 12 to 16 and girls about 10 to 14. These are generally accepted ranges. I know that there may be differences to that. 20s plus, why have I mentioned that? Well, of course, we all get to the 20s plus at some point. That's really when you have a good, healthy voice, and you've got a good combination of strength and flexibility in your voice at that point. As we get later 20s to early 30s, that's going to deteriorate just a little bit, but it's really when the voice is considered to be fully mature at a biological level. So it's a really good phase. So if we could all turn the clock back to that, or if you're not there yet, the best is yet to come. Middle age. I didn't say stone age, middle age. That's the generally accepted range, 45 to 65. And then the ladies at menopause, which does have an effect on the voice, which I'll point out a little bit later. Now, for most ladies, again, generally accepted, 45 to 65. But of course, it can be about 30 to 60 as well. All ladies are different, okay? And I don't need a hands up for this, all right? So that's absolutely fine, yeah. What happens during these phases? So during puberty, so the larynx and the vocal folds will have a growth spurt during this time, yeah, which is natural, and we all kind of know that. Middle age, the effects of gravity. Now, gravity is going to affect us in quite a few ways here, but from a vocal point of view, what it does, it causes the larynx to drop in the neck, because as the muscles get weaker, can't support it as well. So that's going to alter the distance from the vocal folds to the mouth, which we call the vocal tract. Yeah, from the vocal folds to the mouth, that's the vocal tract there. So that increases in length as your larynx drops a little bit. So it's going to alter the resonant features of your vocal tract, and it's going to enhance the lower frequencies a little bit more. So you tend to sound a little bit deeper. And there you go. if you need to see those. Beyond middle age, oh my goodness, or whatever you want to say to that. In men, the vocal folds get thinner and a little stiffer. The folds may lose their straight edges, so when they're closing, they don't quite meet. You can get a gap that develops, and you can get some breath can escape, so the voice can sound weak and a little bit breathy. This gap's caused by a thing called presbylarynx, which really is the action of aging on the voice. That's what it's technically called, and I'm sure the medical people amongst us will hopefully confirm that. Thinner and stiffer, lose their straight edges, gap develops. The loss, presbylarynx is really the loss of the vocal fold tone and elasticity due to aging. I know you're reading this already in your head. It can also be called bowing vocal folds, which we're familiar with, or glottal insufficiency. So there's a good one to throw at somebody in a quiz, in a pub quiz. Here's a little slide. Age and voice comparison. So on the left there, we said normal. This would be normal closure. So on the left, this is how they are when they're open. And then in the center there, when they're closed, nice and straight and together. But as we get a little bit older, in varying extremes, of course, some people won't get this. Some people will get it more. Everybody's slightly different, but it is something that can happen with age. And we get this bowing vocal fold there, and you can see that gap. So when the air escapes, we get quite a bit breathy with that. So ladies, and that comes along, when the menopause comes along, there are hormonal changes that affect the vocal folds in a number of ways. They become slightly thicker and stiffer. There's a reduction in the number of the glands that produce mucus. So, and that mucus lubricates the folds. So you get drier, yeah? So the importance of hydration, which we all know because it's drilled into us all the time by your wonderful directors. You've got to keep hydrated all the time, okay? Particularly then. So the vocal fold changes, they lower the pitch and they cause some high note loss because they've got, thicker and stiffer, and the quality can get rougher and a bit more breathier. Aging in the body. Ooh, we see that thing on the left, which we're all familiar with, I'm sure. So as our joints stiffen as we get older, some do, some don't, this is all varying degrees. Joints stiffen and affect spine flexibility and alignment. Remember the key alignment points. We've all been drilled about alignment. I was going to say to death, but that's not really appropriate, is it? You'll see on that first one on the left there. So that's unadjusted alignment. Then you've got a bit of self-adjustment where you try and put everything right yourself. And then the one on the right-hand side is the more adjusted alignment. That diagram doesn't go down the full length of the body, unfortunately. But the key points there, you see that the ears are over the widest part of the shoulders, yeah, which then form down over the hips and over the knees over the ankles, legs slightly bent, okay, no stiffness. Your directors, I'm sure, are talking about this to you all the time. Simple things like putting your hand behind your head when you're talking or singing, yeah, particularly, which will help keep you notice on the left-hand side how his chin's forward, chin's up, his head's forward. There is a mathematical ratio. Your head weighs about 9 pounds on average, but as you get further out, it increases by a substantial amount. Not going to go into all that. But you'll notice as we get towards the right-hand side of that diagram, how the back of the neck has got a little bit longer and the front has got a little bit shorter, long back and neck, short front. Okay, so everything is nicely aligned there, and it's just going to help you with your, obviously with your vocal production. A nice thing to do is before you've warmed up and aligned yourself, get your vocal recorder, sing something like Happy Birthday. When you're warm, when you're nicely aligned and you think you're better, record it again and just see if you can hear any difference. Okay, I'd be surprised if you can't hear some difference. Okay, some other things. Your bones do become brittle and they do break, unfortunately, which take longer to heal. Yeah. So the cricoid cartilage, which is the complete ring of cartilage around the trachea where your Adam's apple is, gets calcified, okay, which means that it can get more grippy and more tense. It's something we can't avoid. Now, you can't really cure the thing, but it's just something you've got to be aware to try and avoid tension around your windpipe. It's just a factor, I'm afraid. Something that happens. Our muscles weaken. So basically, I call this my falling apart slide, really, because this is the point where you think, what on earth's going on here? Am I completely falling apart? Our muscles weaken, and we lose tone a little bit. And our hearing deteriorates. The medical word for that is called presbycusis. And the higher frequencies are lost. So S, TH, th, and F. They're harder to discriminate. So if you're in a crowded room or something and there's echo, you'll find that those are harder to discriminate, which has got some effect, you know, when you're on the risers singing with other people, and you may not be able to hear those quite so well. Here's a few more falling apart ones. This is a jolly old presentation, isn't it? I bet you're glad you came. Our memory deteriorates. And what does that do? How does that affect the voice? Well, you know, I think it affects our confidence more than the physical aspect of affecting the voice here. It affects our confidence. So if you're on the risers and you can't remember a phrase or something, then you're going to worry about it. You may not then produce your best vocal production that you can, because it's a factor that's taking you away from concentrating on your vocal production. It's a good one. Your gums can recede, your teeth can get loose. I mean, goodness me, I don't know why I'm doing this. What does it do? It affects your articulation. Okay, just affects articulation. So be aware that if your articulation directors are, you know, oh, you need to articulate better, you can always say, well, actually my teeth are loose tonight, so I'm not too good with this. Okay. Your lungs lose capacity. Blooming heck, they say, when's the good stuff coming along? So breath management becomes very important here as your lungs start losing their natural capacity. Okay, we do a lot of breath management exercises, don't we? Yeah, so they're going to be quite important. Our digestive system slows down and becomes less efficient. Don't sing on a full stomach, we're often told. Why should we not do that? Because our diaphragm rests on the top of the viscera, it rests on the liver and then the stomach and then the intestines there. So if these are full, it's not allowing the diaphragm to do what it needs to do, which of course is to come up and lie flat. Yeah, so just be aware of that. I know they say, well, singers have, Pavarotti has a big bowl of pasta before he sings. I bet he doesn't have too big a bowl, but then again, he probably had a slightly bigger diaphragm than the rest of us as well. Okay, so you've just got to be careful with that. Just be sensible about it. Here's another. The neurological input to our muscles, our brain telling our muscles what to do, they change with age, and the overall number of nerves that we have reduce. What do? They affect our fine balance, fine movement, coordination, and balance. All factors that you've got to consider. Fine movement, balance. Hey, we're trying to get aligned. Yeah, we're doing the best that we can. So we talk about alignment so much, as you know. You've got to get into the best alignment that you can. You can't be perfect. I don't think there are many people, if you can actually get into absolutely perfect alignment, you can get into the best alignment that you can, and it will help you. But don't beat yourself up if you don't look exactly like the diagram we had before. Yep, just do the best you can with what you can, and you'll notice a difference. Okay, now we've fallen apart. What can we do that will help us a little bit? Here's some strategies. You see that thing on the right-hand side. Have fun with the straw. Semi-occluded vocal tract. How many times do we hear this? SOVT exercises. And that's a fancy way to say that the mouth is partially closed. Now, the gentleman who brought this to the fore was this chap, Ingo Titzi. You can see a YouTube video of him. Very smart chap in a suit, telling you to do with your straw. And all the exercises are great, but it's not the most interesting video, I have to say. So there are lots of other straw videos if you want to call them that, that show the exercises maybe a little more modern, perhaps in a more modern way, but they're all based on his stuff. He was an engineer, a mathematician by profession, and just started looking at frequencies and things that would help. And he did this, basically. So that thing on the right-hand side there, if we've got a straw, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Take a straw, Yeah. Don't have too thin a straw. I don't know if I could. Yeah, all the good people have got some straws with them. Yeah, okay. So you can vary the size. There are people now selling SOVT straws, you know, buy one from me. This one is from Next. It's a very posh one because it comes as a set of metal straws with a cleaning brush. So if you're bothered into hygiene and want a nice shiny silver straw, get one of these. If not, get a recyclable one. Or if not, get one of these. This is a bit thin, I would suggest. Okay. Straw phonation. We do it to improve the efficiency of the vocal fold closer. Now you see on that right hand diagram, it talks about back pressure there, pressure from underneath. So when we do this, we put it in our mouths. You may have done this. I'm probably repeating what few people have told you, probably. We put it in our mouth. We don't bite on it. Try not to bite on the straw because that will give you tension around here, which you don't want. Do some hums and slides. So nice and gently through the straw. You can also do it in water for a little more resistance as well, but we're just trying to avoid the big pressure coming up from underneath on the vocal folds. You can do this all day. You can hum all day with this. It will not do you any harm at all. Okay, so you don't try and do it at a ridiculous volume. Yeah, a nice light tone. So if you hum something like Happy Birthday, which is a great song for different ranges and pitches and intervals, that's a really good one to do. So you can have so much fun with the straw. Yeah, so try using this. If you haven't done before, speak to your directors who are probably aware of this. Hopefully, it's the good thing. It's a good thing to do. Another thing you can do, another strategy, keep yourself mentally active and practice storytelling. Practice storytelling. If you're blessed with grandchildren, read them stories. If you've got sons and daughters, read them stories. Depends how old they are. Yeah. Keep yourself mentally active. If you can, do some crosswords, do some jigsaws, anything that just keeps the brain just going. Hum gently along to the radio or your favorite track. If you're doing something in the kitchen or if you're doing anything anywhere, hum along to your favorite track. Just hum, sing very, very gently, practice regularly. We're just training these vocal folds to always have nice closure, so it becomes a habit for them. Yeah. Be careful though, don't do too much Black Sabbath at 7 o'clock in the morning in the shower. Not too much of that, because it's not really good, unless you're a Black Sabbath fan, yeah, and you might really like that. Move it or lose it. Exercise regularly and within your limitations. Don't suddenly whiz off for a run, for 24. Don't suddenly do a marathon. I've been doing this couch to 5K thing, which is very popular. Starts off very gently. It's a free app. You can do that. Do what exercise you can. If you can do a little, then please do. Try and eat a healthy, balanced diet and drink 8 glasses of water a day on average, if you can. 8 glasses of water. Yep. I have so when I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is have some water before my cup of tea, just to put a bit of water back in there. Yeah, take a glass of water to bed. Just try and drink more water as much as you can. Okay. If you smoke, speak to your GP about cutting down. I know it's difficult. I mean, I don't smoke myself, but experience tells us from other people that it's hard for people to stop smoking. If you can cut down a little, fantastic. Smoking's just like taking sandpaper to your voice, really. If you smoke, it's really, really rough against the folds, and they don't like it. Think about your posture and your alignment all the time. So, car mirror setting. Sit in your car, get yourself nicely aligned, as comfortably as you can in your car, so you can drive safely, of course. Try and make sure your headrest is allowing your head to come up at the back and your chin to come forward. Set your driving mirror, and then every time you get into the car, you'll only be able to see out of your driving mirror if you sit correctly. Yep. A lot of us tend to get in the car, oh, just adjust this, and then I'll fiddle around. Try and put yourself, just take a second. Once it's set, then you're good. Pilates, Alexander technique. I have an Alexander technique lesson session once a month about on average, all connected to alignment, all about grounding yourself, making sure you're standing correctly. And alignment even when we're sitting down. Now look, we're all on Zoom at the moment. I just wonder how many of us, if you're sat in a chair, if you're sat on the sofa having a drink, then that's absolutely fine. But if you're sat in your chair, just have a little think about how you're sat in your chair. Do you think you're sat quite nicely? Have a little sing. Yeah. So it's amazing that I just saw lots of people kind of do this all of a sudden. Everybody was before. Okay. So if you're working from home and you're on your computer all the time, we know the benefits of sitting well and making sure that you're nicely aligned. You can even have a hum as well. Because I'm going to suggest that really without this correct position, you can't really take a proper breath, what we would call a proper breath, even for living, never mind for singing. So try and think about your alignment all the time. Hard to do, I know. Be aware that some medications like antihistamines may cause dryness. Just be aware of that. We're not saying don't take them, of course, because I'm not a medical practitioner and would never get into that area. But just be aware that some medications can do that, can cause dryness. So you've got to keep hydrated all the time. Go easy on the booze. Oh, that's an easy one, isn't it? Yeah, like everybody could do that. That's what it does, though. It irritates the membranes of the mouth, throat, the gullet, the stomach, and can give you acid reflux, which we don't like. All personal choices, of course. These are just some things that if you cut back on a bit, then it's going to help. Have your hearing checked regularly? I've just had my hearing check, thank goodness, last week. All is good from 2 years ago, still the same, no deterioration. That's great. It just helps you. Why is that important? Because it helps you monitor your speech, so that articulation remains clear, which is really important to us as singers in what we do. Any singer in any line of work. Here's something to consider: have a singing lesson. Get recommended a good singing coach, and go and have a singing lesson with a professionally trained singer. Okay, people who do this for a living. They'll just give you an MOT once over, just give you nice tips. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Italian school of singing called bel canto, or if you're not, bel canto, which means beautiful singing. Excuse me. So a bel canto lesson is preferred, not a canbelto lesson, like this one. Now, I'm not quite sure what the teacher is trying to get the student to sing here. I think the student's singing an R vowel, but I'm not convinced that the teacher with a hat on is doing that. And I don't know what he's doing with his hand there. So if you have a teacher like that, it might not be wise to go to somebody like that. I mean, if you need to sing loud and raucous, then do that. Plus, it looks like he's going to grab your face and put you into shape. So not a good idea. But having a singing lessons, great. I have one regularly with a guy I trust, who's been with me quite a long time, and he just keeps me in shape, I hope. Okay. Here's one: vibrato versus tremolo. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one, isn't it, for us? Oh, you mustn't sing with any vibrato. Vibrato and tremolo may have a similar sound to the untrained ear, but ultimately are unrelated in their production. So vibrato occurs really as a movement of frequency within the vocal folds, and it manifests itself really as a wide, natural, resonant vibration, similar to a wide sound wave. And it's a result of healthy vocal technique. Now, don't confuse that with this. Tremolo or trillo is a rapid change in pitch or even volume. If I sing this, you at the end, hopefully I've got a little vibrato. If I sing this, You, not recommended. That is a tremolo. Okay. You, because I'm actually going ooh, singing different notes here, but a vibrato. You. I was going to sing something about one about myself. Heart of my heart, I love you. Life would be naught without you. Hopefully that's not too much vibrato, but it just lets you warm the sound a little. Yeah. And it's a result of these working really well, nicely releasing at the end. It just letting a bit more air out, just oscillating nicely. But be very careful about this, okay? If you get into this tremolo thing, you're going to damage your voice. This is what it does. It allows improper airflow. And it's a tremolo. It's a way of manipulating the vocal cords in a muscular way. So you're doing lots of stuff with your voice box here. Okay. Now, of course, as you get older, then your voice box is maybe not as static set as it was because your muscles weaken around there. Yeah. So you're going to have that. It's you know, it's a funny one for people as they get older. Yeah. So just try and monitor it. Tremolo also causes muscular strain from the pitch shift. This is why we get this. Sorry if I'm doing your ears with this, or if you can hear it at all. And what it does, it also trains improper development in your chords. Your chords are going to carry on doing that if you carry on doing that. Yeah, because they'll get into this memory thing of not being developed properly, and your tone production's going to suffer. And finally, how are we doing on time? Okay, not too bad, not too boring, I hope. Going back to our 3 people at the beginning. Tony Bennett, still singing and recording at 94. 94. Now you could say, is he blessed from God? Probably a little bit as well, but he certainly looked after his voice. I saw him do a interview on an American chat show with a lady, and they took questions from the audience, and a young girl said, "Oh, Mr. Bennett, you know, you're fantastic and all that. I'm just starting out. What exercises do you think you should do, or what's the best thing I can do for my voice, you know, to really develop it?" Rest. He said, "You've got to take time out to rest your voice as well." Yeah, we work hard when we use our voices. Okay, we warm up, and we should cool down the voice as well at the end after we finish to get things back to normal. Just by a few little hums, a few little sirens. So, you know, don't just be singing and then think, "Oh, okay, I'm done now." Yeah, allow your voice to come back to rest naturally. I put on there, check out his 2 duets albums. You may or may not be aware of these albums. They're absolutely wonderful if you get a chance to listen. He does it with lots of stars. It's really, really good. So the other lady that was on there, Ella Fitzgerald, gave her final performance at Carnegie Hall, her 26th appearance. She was 74 when she did that. And was probably, yeah, still singing well, I would suggest. Pavarotti, Carreras, and Domingo singing into their 70s. They appreciated their voice change. Domingo started singing, took less tenor roles, less Puccini, less Wagner, less heavy taxing, demanding stuff. Just did something a little less demanding. Went into conducting as well, sang more baritone than he did tenor. Of course, Pavarotti is not singing now, of course, but he was singing well into his 70s, and we know how wonderful he was. I think just a couple of summary things, really. Just manage your expectations sensibly. Don't beat yourself up too much, okay, if things aren't going quite right. Singing's got to be enjoyable, has to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. We have loads of fun, and we all want to sing at our best, I'm sure. Nobody goes out to want to sing badly at the start of their rehearsal. Although we can't stop time, we can improve our physical and vocal health just by following some of the above suggestions. Yeah. You're going to feel better, you're going to feel happier, healthier, and you'll definitely sing better. Thanks for listening. Look after yourself. And I think Slan means bye. Bye. So thanks very much for listening. If you've got any questions, I'm going to stop sharing this now. And then I'm going to hand over to Linda.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. That was
I
great.
hope a lot of